Alright, so here's a short video. Well, it's a video. I hate using that word. Perfect. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and kind of speed through what the update is. As you can see, the pickup truck is no longer here in the garage. I sold it to a local guy. He went ahead and finished the project and used the parts from my truck to put it into his truck that was actually more set up for the swap. So we went ahead and finished it. I'll put the link to his Instagram below. You guys give him a follow. The guy got it done. He showed me videos of it running. I personally haven't seen it yet, but I will definitely be making some time, probably some videos on that thing, that project. And maybe you can give him a follow to see how you guys, how he did his way of getting it running. But overall, as you can tell throughout the channel, my attention to the IS has increased by a lot. Reason why is because it's actually been kind of a dream setup for me since high school, was to actually get this IS300, make it a turbo car, 4-door sedan, manual car. My first car was a Toyota Cressida. I did pretty much the same thing, but I was working with the 7M, and the car was kind of old, so, and didn't have much aftermarket support back then, so it was kind of like, I didn't want to work with it, and not, I wasn't making really good enough money to support that hobby. But anyways, I'm now pretty much getting past a couple levels on this car since the last video update. So as you can see, it's a single turbo TJ. Not everybody does it, and their grandmother, but most of the guys here local who run IS300s, SCs, or whatever like that always go the 1J route. So I'm pretty much kind of glad that I'm at the top as far as status goes. But anyways, it was stock twins initially, and of course with the Japanese twins, they're ceramic. You can't push them anywhere past like 16 psi continuously, and eventually they start to go, and they did on my case. Actually, how mine went out was in a spectacular fashion. Was on my way from work, and all of a sudden my boost gauge registered at 22 psi. I'm like, okay, that was fun. But then I started feeling the car having a little more power than before, and then I started noticing smoke from the engine. I was like, okay, that's not good. So I pulled over, overhauled. One of the wastegate hoses from the first turbo popped off. It was filled with oil. I was like, yep, it's that time. Fast forward, bought a single kit, went ahead and put this. It's a CX Racing kit. I bought it last minute because I needed something quick to put the car back together. Anyways, you go ahead, see, I got a single turbo. It's a DT35. Supposedly it's an 82 turbo. It's a 70 trim with a 68 AR in the rear. It's kind of small, but I suppose the turbo is pretty quick. I get pretty much full boost at around 3,200. It's still on stock ECU. That's why you have the MAF and the tiny little intake and stuff. You got everything recirculate, and that's just to satisfy the stock ECU. The stock ECU does not like not seeing the MAF, and everyone's like complete crap whenever there's a leak, vacuum leak, boost leak, and other stuff. So anyways, just give everyone through everything. This kit is extremely modified. I know it's a cheap, everyone keeps calling it the China kit. They claim that it's US made, but it's not. The strut bar is a rare, I believe it's a Lexus strut bar. It's the thickest strut bar you can get on the market for the IS300. And some guy on OfferUp had it up for $100 and didn't even know what he had. So I was like, okay, I'll take it. And it was only on there for like an hour on OfferUp, and I instantly gave the guy his asking price. Didn't even bother, because I think these new were somewhere in like the $350, the $300, $400 new. So you see, it's heavily modified. Everything is completely wrapped in titanium exhaust wrap, for the piping down to the headers, and then just added more security. Added a thermal blankets on everything to protect heat, because I did run this without a turbo blanket on this, and holy crap, this thing was falling apart and melting. Can't really see, but it morphed. This, I had this piece, which is now made of aluminum, was made of plastic, bent upward, and just, it was just awful. It was just terrible. So I had to replace that with one piece of aluminum steel. This is my boost controller solenoid, power source. Had to relocate the battery to the trunk. I no longer have a spare tire, because that's where the battery is, and actually helps with weight transfer and everything. So that's in a good spot. I went ahead, it's a little dirty and dusty. Car's been sitting here for over 2 months, waiting for stuff. But perfect timing for all this pandemic crap to hit. So everything is all delayed and stuff. So just giving a quick run through. Went upgrade to a Mishimoto radiator. The engine officially now has, it's a ported head. Fully ported. It's got ARP studs in it, and pretty much just been resealed again, because my head gasket was actually leaking into the coolant, and so I had to take that out. What initially brought this car down, well, not just the turbos, it was actually an electrical issue with the rear wire. When you install rear turbo, twin turbos, you have to dent this part down here in order for that rear turbo intake charge pipe to actually fit. So I had to bash this in, and what happens is the harness fell, I guess during vibrations or heavy driving or whatever, and fell behind the block and got squeezed in between the engine and the firewall and pinched some wires, and the engine would cut out randomly when I hit bumps on the road. So that's pretty much brought it down to the whole rebuild, head gasket, all that kind of stuff. Got it back up running, and then all of a sudden I took it to the dyno, which curious to see what it was producing. So here's the criteria. It's stock engine, stock ejectors, 440s, CC injectors, stock ECU with the Apex C tuner hooked up. GT35, mocking a CX Racing turbo. This is a dual ball bearing turbo, by the way. But it's got the cast wheel on there, so I have no idea what the limit's going to be when I push it, but I am going to try to push it at the limits. I'm not going to try to blow it up, but if it does, hopefully none of the bits and pieces make it into the engine. So the criteria is, this was running at 16 psi, and I knew the day I took it to turbo to the dyno, I knew something wasn't right. The car felt a little bit sluggish, and I was like, something's not right. So I was like, I drove all the way out there for the heck of it, just to see what it was making, because I knew it was making more power from the get-go. As you see in the clip, here's the turbo run. there's the dyno sheet. And yeah, cool numbers and everything, but I knew that it was holding back. Lo and behold, after bringing it down back in late March, beginning of April, when I finally put it down on the lift, I was like, something's not right. So went ahead, took everything out. Motor stayed in here, but everything here, front, the grill, bumper, all that kind of stuff came out. Turbo came, just the housing came off because I had to weld on the elbow. And the reason why, as you can see, the coupler used to come out, go all the way down into this hole that you had to drill into the fender, and goes right down there into a 90-degree, and then goes into the intercooler. I didn't like that setup at all because it took up space for here for the air filter, and I had to plumb, and this is all custom, by the way. This was an original 90-degree piece, and I went ahead and welded the elbow and stuff like that and everything. And I originally wanted this to point downward and suck the air from down there. And don't worry about it, car hardly driven in the rain because it puts out too much power to be stable or be safe in the rain. So went ahead, while I was taking everything apart and was getting the elbow ready, because this was something I wanted to do, because the previous coupler actually popped. It had a hole due to the heat. On lo and behold, same thing happened again. Even though I put a wrap, I put a higher quality elbow with thicker ply, it still made that hole. And I knew something was wrong because the engine sounded weird. It wasn't making as much power. And I was like, okay, it still managed to make 420 at the wheel with a huge boost leak on it. And that's just one boost leak that I found. Actually, the other boost leak I found was down in the elbow where the intercooler, and then the other one was right here in this section. You can see there's a pipe right there, and that's where I found the other leak. Did a boost test. This thing cannot even hold 14-15 psi. It just goes up and then just immediately drops. And this is with everything, the motor is completely sealed up on the exhaust side and everything. It was just leaking everywhere. And you can hear it. You just hear air escaping from these pipes. So everything now is taken care of. Hopefully the elbow is welded on. It's now going a different route. Now the elbow, all the clutter, actually now comes down below. And the blow valve comes here, now turns into this. And there's a 135-degree coupler under the fender. So I'll no longer have to worry about that ugliness up there. So when another upgrades go up, I don't have to worry about it. Now down to the overall car. As you can notice, I got new wheels, JNCs. I wanted BBSs, but during this whole pandemic thing, and then work has slowed down a bit, along with production of parts. I'll get to that later. Has slowed down substantially. As you can see, BBSs, they're $1,000 a piece for the ones I want, the specs that I want. The JNCs came in almost close. I still had to use a spacer because their hats are not as deep as they should be. So as you can see, I'm walking Woolwood brakes, the two-piece system. Just let you know I'm not playing around. So it's got the big brake kit, suspension wise, front Eibach, that's been on the car for a while, but I got the Figs engineering adjustable sway bar links Megan Racing springs upgraded to a 12K from the 10K. Both sides, of course. Nothing really major in the front other than, well, the brakes, big brakes, wider tires. I used to rock 245s in the rear, but spinning first, second, and partial third, these are now officially in the front, and now 265s are in the rear. 265s. This is a 10-inch wide wheel. That's a 9-inch. So maximum traction, new brakes. Now the big upgrade is under the vehicle, and this is pretty much, I don't have to worry about anything under the vehicle braking. So let me give you a rundown. Subframe was completely taken apart off the vehicle, and it was cleaned up. All the new old and rubber bushings were completely removed. You have to remove them by a torch, by the way. There's no other way. You can try to hammer them, but all you got to do is have the hammer bounce off the bushing, original bushing, and you're just not going to get anywhere. So all you got to do is pretty much burn it, put a torch you get from AutoZone, Home Depot, or whatever. Burn the bushings out, get them hot enough to the point where they're just burning by themselves on both ends. They'll start to smoke, and then eventually they just actually fall right out. If you have them upside down, they'll eventually just not. And they've been replaced with their system manufacturer nylon bushings. These are pretty much solid plastic. Very curious to see how loud it will be. We also got Fix Engineering adjustable swivel bar links, already adjusted. I also went to upgrade the rear K, the rear suspension on the rear struts, and spring combos for the Mega Racing. I think it was the easy versions. Their versions are not strong enough when dealing with any more higher power. Good for street driving and everything, but I was almost at full maximum dampening on these, but I had to increase the spring rate. If these still don't survive, then I'm going to replace them with the maybe a Fortune Racing or some other spring. Although I kind of am I'm eyeballing the spring coilover system with a separate reservoir with a remote dampening system, so that way I can adjust it from inside the car and not having to come out here and to the trunk and take my interior, or at least reach into the cut hole for the interior to adjust it. So the subframe, I took it out, and you can see in this picture I went ahead and got it prepped. I TIG welded a Fix Engineering reinforcement plate. Went ahead, and once I had that, I went ahead and welded on custom gusses on each of the control arms on both sides and on top as well. Took it to a local place to get it powder coated, and that's it. This also has Fix Engineering Pro, Super Pro poly subframe bushings. We have Fix Engineering traction arms. Every single bit and component has spherical bearings. There is no rubber on any of the suspension components left on this car. None. The dampening and stuff like that, it was just bugging, and there was causing some issues. So there's no longer dealing with any rubber bushings or anything. Nothing back here in the rear of the car has any poly or anything like that. No soft material. It's all hardened steel machine, precise machine spherical bearings. Maintenance free, by the way. For the differential, this is a Frankenstein differential. So the transmission I had before was a CD009 for a 370Z. It was a 2016. I bought the transmission brand new because previous setups were giving me issues on a used transmission. So I bought it brand new. I went and bought a Serial 9 kit, which, by the way, is the best one you can get, in my opinion, after going through several kits. That it is, since it's a pretty much well-built cast bell housing. They that thing, the fact that it's so simplistic and it's simple, and the plumbing and everything is on the right position, I couldn't complain about that. But the transmission itself, they're notoriously known, when you go to a single mass flywheel and clutch setup, they tend to make clunky noises no matter what condition the transmission is, and it's due to the counterweight of the inner input shaft that's not really optimal to handle a single weight or a lightweight flywheel. Don't know anything what Nissan was doing with that, but it wasn't working if you want to upgrade. Anyways, the reason why for the rebuild differential is this is a 3.58 final drive. This is no longer a 3.93 or 3.73, which is actually, this is the third differential this car has gone through. I still have my original 3.73 in the garage, and that was an original IS300 LSD. This one has completely all brand new internal pieces. It has a Mach 3 Supra LSD clutch type with rear upgraded spring and clutch material. So this is pretty much a full lock transmit. This is a full lock type differential at all times. I didn't like the differential on the IS300s on the torsions because they were kind of somewhat unpredictable, and then when you're kind of lowered and you kind of start freewheeling, pulling into like a parking lot or whatever, then all of a sudden your car starts to roll back, and then all of a sudden it catches and your tires squeal and you get a lot of unwanted attention. So I went ahead and got the full lock clutch side. It's got also has a 1989 to 1995 Toyota pickup truck 8-inch ring and pinion gear. These are gears brand new from just differentials. That's all brand new. These are not re-manufactured. These are not cleaned up or anything. These are brand new rings from just differentials, and all new bearings, all new seals, everything all have been redone. So this is a pretty much a brand new complete differential, other than the housing, which I might upgrade to the 8.8 from Grannis, but we'll see how this one handles it. If it grenades, it grenades. If not, if I'm not happy with the transmission that I have, I'll get to that in a second, then I'll go ahead and upgrade to the 8.8. So basically what I've done to the entire car was, you see in other clips, is I went ahead and I stripped everything from under this car down. Fuel tank, subframe, differential, suspension, wheels, everything, the sidebars, all the installation plastic bits and everything that came, completely all the fuel lines, the gas, the brake lines, everything has been completely dropped. And I went ahead and I cleaned up all the coating, the dirt, grime, and I sat there for hours pressure washing. I bought other accessories to make this happen. Clean up all the studs and everything. All the studs, see there's still tape wrapped around, and everything has been completely redone. And I recoated the entire undercarriage of the car. As you can see, everything has been completely recoated. Here's a picture of what's above the subframe and what's above the fuel tank. Everything has been completely recoated with several passes and layers of sound installation undercoating. It's still a Lexus. I kind of wanted to drive like it's a Lexus. And that was one of the issues I had, where I was hearing a bunch of stuff. And if you look at my other videos, I explained that where was other noises and smell was coming from, and I finally figured it out. And it took me to strip the entire car down to find that out. Pretty sure other people figured it out better or quicker than me, but yeah, that was my situation. Now, come to the main event. What transmission am I using right now? That is a T56 Magnum. Brand new from Grannis Racing. well, actually from Tremec. I bought it through Brandis Racing with his kit. Still waiting on the dry shaft. And literally that's the final piece for this car. It's literally a dry shaft. Like I said earlier in the video, where all this pandemic crap and protest and everything and stuff like that, it just went to crap. And by the way, the reason why this is holding up is because my cross member, I had to send it in because I thought the wrong one was sent, but apparently with the what is called a reverse lockout solenoid was hitting against my tunnel, so it was pushing the holes that were making them seem like they were misaligned. So I went ahead and hammered that out, and I'm just waiting for the mount to come back, the bracket come back. So we'll see what happens with that, and hopefully I don't no longer need that, and I can probably put this car on the ground to do some more adjustments on the suspension. The reason why I went with the T56 Magnum is because it was a drivetrain that I really wanted for the car for a long time. I drove a Corvette many years ago, many years ago, and it was a Pro Charge. It was making like somewhere around 650 at the wheel or something like that, and it had the T56 in there, a built transmission in it, and this was an older one. This is like a C5, maybe a C6, I can't remember, but I drove it, and then when I finally got the feel of that transmission, I was like, wow, there's no problems with this. And then I got my hands on driving a Mustang Cobra, and then I got to drove a few Camaros, and they all have this same transmission. I was like, man, I think I want this transmission in here, because eventually I wanted to go with the V160, but the V160's price is literally the same price that I got this entire kit for. If you look up a V160 in good condition and look up the price for just the transmission by itself, this is the reason why I went with this route. And then parts for a V160 was becoming scarce. So the kit is actually pretty neat. Comes with the QuickTime bell housing, which, by the way, you're gonna have to do some alignment. Showing the picture here, this is with a dial gauge, and what happens is Granite sends his modified, pretty much I want to say better, dial plate to dial in the offset of the bell housing. And you want to do this because on T56s, their input shafts are using a cone bearing, which has a very low tolerance for any left, right, up, down movement of the input shaft. It's usually about 5 thou is the max. So you have to do a bell housing offset dialing before you install. It's highly recommended, or else you're going to end up with loud bearing noises and input on the input shaft of the T56, and that's what causes these weaknesses, which is technically not a weakness. It's more like whoever installed it didn't do the proper measurements and stuff like that. So went ahead and did that. The clutch is a twin disc competition clutch. It's rated for 750 foot-pounds. Am I going to reach that? I doubt it, not on the stock block, but my goals, which I'll share in another video, I went ahead and did that so I don't have to worry about a clutch issue later on. I just went ahead and stepped it up. T56 Magnum comes with this little, I think it's called the Bowler Bluetooth wire harness. This thing's actually pretty cool. I'll show you that inside the interior of the car to show exactly what this does, and it's really sick actually. So, but yeah, that's pretty much the rundown of what the vehicle is. Everything under the car has been completely redone, literally. Step into the messy cab because I'm still doing a whole bunch of work. So this is currently what it looks like on the inside. As most of the videos you've been seeing were done by a little dash camera. This is right here, little DD Pi, and then I got a rear one right there. that's on 24/7. Both of them are on 27, so anything that happens, I know about it. So the little shifter lockout I wanted to show was, this is pretty much what happens. So in his car, keys and ignition not on. So go first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. Now the gear select on this is not correct. This is from a previous setup from the CD999. I like this shifter because it's slightly weighted and it also feels real nice. But I don't know if I'm gonna get another one, because reverse on the T56 is actually up instead of, or T56 Magnum is up, not down. So as you can see, I'm not able to go over into the reverse lockout. No power to the solenoid to allow me to go past. But as soon as I turn the car on, now I go into reverse. And what's cool is that it has that little module that it has down there can be pre-programmed, so that way it doesn't allow you to go into reverse during a certain mileage. So it's reading off the sensor off the transmission, the speed sensor, and you can set the programming so that way it doesn't come out or allow you to go into the reverse gate over a certain mileage. And it comes preset around 4 miles an hour, but I put it at 3 just in case I get a little antsy sometimes, because sometimes I attend when I'm in the like a parking lot or whatever, pulling in, turn in, on reverse, I kind of want to go in there before it goes in. So I put it at a lower speed and everything. So 5th and 6th gate, reverse gate. 5th, 6th, reverse. Turn it off. No power. 5th, won't go into reverse gate. Literally, I bought this entire kit for this issue. Not only that, the gear ratios on the T56 is way more in my favor. Of course, the 3.58 gear ratio may be a bit too much because the gear ratios on these are very tall. And so first gear will take me literally, after calculating, according to this, with the tire size, the wheel size, with the transmission gear ratios, with the final drive, would take me up to 55 miles an hour. That's Corvette territory. And then second gear will take me up to above 80 miles an hour. We'll see how I like that. But the power level it was at I was like, okay, it's time to upgrade, because the single clutch probably wouldn't be able to handle after finding out how much power it makes. And I'm gonna jump to that real quick and show you, just to give a little teaser. I had to call a certain company to situate the fuel. Here's the fuel pump sitting in there, and let's just say I'm going to require a lot of fuel for the type of gas I'm going to be running on. So that's pretty much the update. Other than I got a new bottom lip. I like it. It's discreet, a little low key, and it protects anything that's under here. So if I scrape this, I know for sure I'm going to scrape somewhere around either the mid part or part of my exhaust that dangles a bit. And that's finally the lowest part of my car, is my exhaust, which is custom made, as you can see in the other previous video called the return. That's all fabricated by me. chopped, cut, welded, TIG welded, stainless steel, all V-bands, the muffler and everything, all vibrant muffler and resonator. The transmission, the CD double line used to be the lowest part of this car, believe it or not, and that's another reason why I get rid of it. Because the first CD double line that I had, I was going over a speed bump and I had a friend in the passenger, and it actually hit the speed bump. And I was like, yeah, this has got to go. So that's pretty much the update. I'm still waiting for a drive shaft. This whole COVID-19 crap is causing a lot of stress. But hopefully the relief will be coming soon.